Hello, you wonderful people, and welcome to another episode of Not Too Comic Book. This mega show, we're talking about TV shows that are adaptations of comic books. For today's episode, I'm going to talk about Hotel Inhumans Season 1, Episode 2. A great episode, a lot of really interesting things went down in this episode, so let's break it down. Well, first and foremost, we get introduced to the latest killer who is taking advantage of Hotel Inhumans' services. His name is Kase. He is a perfectionist hitman. I think it's interesting, like, they wait till later in the episode to kind of tell you more about him in the regards of, like, who he is as a killer. But basically, he's all about trying to get the perfect kill because he makes a comparison to, like, an orchestra that he ends up saying, I think he's, like, the conductor, and that basically the people who hire him out are, like, the musical notes. And, yeah, it's just interesting that that's kind of how he, like, looks at it. But, yeah, he's all about making the perfect kill. Interesting timing too, because I was just recently watching, obviously, there's a killer in the TV show Poker Face, a great show, highly recommend you check it out. But one of the killers, like, basically disguises himself as someone, so it's kind of interesting that that's his whole shtick. I don't know why that's 100% necessary, but I guess it's like the easiest way to cover up a crime is to pretend to be the person you're killing, because that way, like, you mess with the time of death, because it's like, whoa, they left at this time, there's security footage and stuff. Like, maybe that's what that's meant to do, like, to hide the crime. And also, when you're disguising them, like, it gives them one less person to look for, because they're like, oh, we're looking for the victim. And like I said, I think the main thing is probably it messes with the time of death, but also probably does hide the killer. Either way, we get into a really interesting discussion between Ikuro and Sarah. First and foremost, him jamming to, like, heavy rock music, like, kind of being like, I want to quit, and he's just tired of it all, and he's just, like, doing his thing. He's like, oh, sorry my ass, I don't want to be cut by a killer's knife or something like that, and just, like, I'm like, yo, Ikuru's going nuts. I mean, we already saw last episode, this is kind of a little bit of his bit, but now we see, like, oh, he does it on a pretty regular enough basis, but Sarah comes in and immediately shuts it off. It's so funny because Kase is all about the orchestral music, and then you tie this into, like, obviously Ikuro, like, has a thing for music, but it doesn't mean anything to Sarah. It doesn't really resonate with her. But it ends up being this interesting conversation because he views their guests as villains. Even though he can be sympathetic in some regards, it ends up being, I think, on the overall, like, when he thinks about Kase and is like, oh, Kase's just looking to be the perfect killer, he looks down upon him as just a villain, which Sarah's kind of like, you're very naive. A very naive concierge, because their job isn't to judge their guests. It's like, our job is to, like, basically to give them the best service possible. We aren't here to, like, indict their characters and who they are. Like, this is just what we do, but here you are judging him. It's like, yeah, the fact is he kills more and more to pay for his sick daughter. And then Ikuro started feeling bad, and Sarah's like, yeah, and I just made that all up. He's like, I wish you would stop doing that. But she's like, well, what would be the okay point for you? Oh, like, you know, this person's killing for money, this person's killing for this, like, whatever their reason is, it doesn't matter. Our job as concierge is to look after them. You know, it's like, you know, and even Ikuro is, like, thinking back to his past, and we don't know what the full story is, but we see, like, I think his hands covered in blood, a pair of glasses on the ground, and you're just like, once again, he seems to hate this job so much, but yet he sticks to it, because even he's like, maybe I'm not made for this job, and she's like, maybe you should quit. He's like, I know that you know. He's like, I won't quit. He's like, I know that you know that already. That I wonder. Because I'm wondering who worked here first, Sarah or Ikuro, because based on that little glimpse, just 100% speculation, it feels like he inherited this place. Maybe it's from someone that was important to him. Maybe it was like a foster parent type of thing, of someone who took him in and raised him, and he owed it to him, so he wants to see this through for their sake. I mean, that's also probably why he has such an issue with killers in general, is because someone that was important to him, who took care of people like this, was betrayed and killed. Like, maybe that's part of his story. And but it seems like Sarah knows what his story is and still has the position that she has, because it's like, regardless of our personal situations, this is our job. This is our duty as concierges at this particular hotel. So it's this really interesting dynamic that they have, where it's just like I said, Ikuru kind of like hating his job, but he still sees it through, despite his like grumbling, whereas Sarah just kind of keeps it 100% professional, because he was more sympathetic last episode, because we're dealing with a guy like, oh, I know your history, you're killing to keep your sister alive, so that's admirable. So it's like, yes, his situation's admirable, but not Kase's especially. But he started to like Kase more because he found out, oh, you have a wife, Asami, that you've been together with for 10 years, because he's all about everything being perfect. He's like, right, like the thing is, I don't need applause, from like a perfect orchestral, round of applause at the end. He's like, I don't need that. Like the applause is the like slight resonance I get afterwards, but also the fact is no one will ever know. That's also the beauty of it. You're supposed to like not know that the murder was committed, and even if you do, who committed it. It's meant to be like that. So either way, for him, it's like everything has to be perfect, but the one X factor continues to be his wife. She's sending him this little text like, oh, wedding anniversary, and then like sent him a smooch, gave him a goodbye kiss, and every time he gets caught off guard, that little strand of hair comes back that like, it's indicative of a lot, and it kind of comes full circle, the epitome of it, of not everything in life goes as planned. No matter how meticulous you try to be, there's always going to be X factors, and funny enough, like his wife ends up being a major one later on, but I'll get to that in a second. But my point is, Ikuro saw a different side of Kase. Like, even though he isn't the most expression person, it's like, but knowing like, oh, he has someone at home, he has a wife, and he's kind of talking to Sarah about it. She's like, wow, you've kind of done a full 180 on him. And he's like, oh, come on. Like, he's like, yeah, it's not that, come on. Like, but she's like, no, you were literally just talking about how low of a person he's got to be because he's trying to get the perfect kill. And he's just like, can't you understand like where I'm coming from feeling wise? Like, why you gotta bust my balls essentially for it? Because it's, for her, it's just like, you're so flip-floppy. And it's just like, that's not what is should be coming of a concierge here. But either way, she's the one that immediately notes like, oh, she can immediately tell which one Kase is, even though he's in disguise. And it's like, oh, how? It's like, it's by the way he walks. Like, for her, it's like, it's almost like a fingerprint. Like, you have a very specific way you walk, and it's like, even in disguise, he can't disguise the way you walk, which comes to bite him in the ass later on, but we'll get to, like I said, that in a second. So she's even saying, like, you need to train your eyes to be able to pick up on something like that. And he could, considering his observational eyes and stuff. But either way, we find out later on that Kase's basically Dexter. If you're familiar with Dexter, the TV show, well, originally books, but then got adapted into a TV show, is a killer of killers. He's like, oh, I have this need to kill, so why don't I put it towards something good like killing killers? So he gets hired by people like the second guy he kills in this episode, because the first guy was a scammer. From what little we know, the second guy's a drug trafficker, and so many people got addicted and died because of him, and so that's why he got killed. And just as Kase's leaving in disguise, he bumps into his wife. She stops him because she thinks it's him, because she's like, oh, she literally answers the way that Sarah said earlier, like, oh, it's the way he walked. And she's like, sorry, you look nothing like my husband. For whatever reason, I stopped you. And that's why I'm like, I don't know if that was kind of his undoing, because he got stopped for too long by his wife. Maybe if that interaction hadn't happened, if he hadn't been caught off guard, if he had just kept moving and hadn't like been stopped as long as he was, maybe he wouldn't have had a collision with his quote unquote killer, right? So that's what I was wondering. But also like the black bird showing up, I was like, cool. Either that's a crow or raven. I'm like, that's a massive red flag. I'm like, that's definitely a bad omen. And then immediately, like he's walking down, like he's talking to Ikuro on the phone. And it was going to have some request about his wife, because I think the 10-year anniversary thing was still in his mind. Like, I think he probably had to let it slip his mind, but he immediately gets stabbed by a guy. I was like, yo, was that someone killing him because, even though they were bad people, maybe you killed someone that was important to someone else. So the irony is you're killing a bad guy, but those bad people still have people that are important to them. But we find out it's one of the guy he's disguised as victims. It's like, yo, my daughter got addicted to drugs and died because of you, you bastard. And it's like, damn it, it's such a shame. Like, it's definitely not the same guy that hired Kase, the same person who hired Kase, but it's like, that's why I was saying, like, bumping into his wife was kind of like the X factor, where it's like, if he had probably not been in that place right when he was, but he he missed his schedule. He missed his time to exit, his performance, because it went on a little too long because he got stopped by his wife. And so, like, maybe they could have missed each other, or maybe he was already there. So it was a matter of, no matter what, it just would have been a matter of it would have happened sooner. I don't know. Like, there's multiple ways you could potentially look at that. I'm not trying to blame his wife. It's just, once again, going back to the point, and they replay it where his wife was like, it's okay. Not everything works out. Such a shit. I mean, but there's beauty to it. Obviously, like, he just ran into his wife, but there's this thing of, like, right, like, taking off the disguise too, because I'm like, well, dying dressed like that would probably, like, draw too much attention and stuff like that. So it's like, you kind of want to, quote unquote, die as yourself, but also, like, it would probably draw too much attention to, like, everything that he does as work and stuff. But he was on the phone with Ikuro, who shows up with Sarah, and they want to get him, like, as much medical assistance, but he's like, no, I need you to do something for me, dying service. And it's like, and they just kind of oblige. It's like, okay, thank you. And so the question then becomes, what is that dying service? Because Ikuru brought up earlier about a will. He was having that conversation with Sarah, and I guess it's because he saw that ahead of time. Ikuro already had a will in place. He had, he does plan stuff out. So just in case things didn't work out, he probably has a contingency. And I think that's what the dying service is probably in conjunction with. Like, I'd rather, like, die and leave stuff for my wife, let my wife die thinking I was this businessman that I wasn't when I'm a contract killer. Maybe that's what it is. But, like, that dying service, it's like, probably like, I need you to help me die. Now, either that's a thing of both literally, and it might be the thing of, I want you to figuratively let me die. Like, I'm going to die here, and, like, it's going to suck for my wife, but at least, give her some closure. I'm going to disappear and live as a new person. I took it literally initially of, like, no, I need you to help me die. Like, let me die. But it could be both literally and figuratively, like, like, cover up what actually happened. So my wife has no questions, and this doesn't draw back to my profession or whatever. Or, because I think maybe he also doesn't want the person who stabbed him to die too, considering, like, well, you killed me because you thought I was the other guy, Kenji, who was a drug trafficker and sold drugs to your child who ended up dying. So it's a complicated situation, and very another tragic story. I was like, oh, this show is going to be riddled with those. And it's going to be really interesting, and to see, like, the aftermath of, because this story's a two-parter, so we'll have to wait to the next episode to get the conclusion to how it all plays out. But I'm also curious what this means for Ikuro going forward. Does this change his perspective on things? He'll probably still be all, I want to quit my job, but I'm curious what kind of effect this particular request will have on him going forward. A lot of this is obviously guessing on my part, but I'm so curious to see, like I said, how this whole thing with Kase and Asami gets concluded. It's probably going to have a very sad ending. It's not going to have, like, the happily ever after ending you want it to be, especially when you tie it into, all right, it's also our 10-year anniversary. That's meant to gut you a lot. Almost poor choice of words. I mean, I won't say he got stabbed in the gut, but still kind of, like I said, bad choice of words in this regard. So I'm curious if, diving into, like, why he's a little more sentimental towards Kase now. Like, I wonder if that ties into Ikuro's job at the hotel. I wonder if that's it, or, like I said, it's just making him more sentimental, realizing, like, oh, they might be killers and stuff, but they have their reasons, and they also have certain aspects of their lives about how his wife is all cute about, like, oh yeah, basically every, like, anniversary, it's like, oh, these are the things I love about my husband: his handsome eyes, his straight brows, and stuff like that, little goofy things like that. So that just adds more salt to the wound, just bringing that up now. But yeah, like I said, I'm interested to see where this all concludes next episode, and what this kind of, like I said, meant for Ikuro's character going forward. So, but really, that's all I wanted to talk about. Till the next time we meet, be happy, be safe, live life to the fullest, and enjoy it. Good day, and goodbye.